Hi guys, hi, what is up? Welcome back to my channel. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe and share this video. Today we're going to decode / analyze the characters of the famous show Boondocks. So, the show was written by the talented Aaron McGruder. This show basically, before it was actually a show, before we knew about it and before we glorialized it, it was actually a comic strip that he wrote started back when he was in high school. He started drawing it out, and then in college he pursued it even more, and it ended up blowing up and making its way into newspapers. Basically, Aaron used realistic occurring events mixed with problems within the show to basically display real world long issues that we had and that we were going through and things that we needed to change. And just the show is very much a reflection of everything that we have going on in this world. The show displays societal programming, ongoing issues, backward mentalities, diversity within Black culture, and the deep-rooted, unacknowledged identity crisis that most Black people face. Pretty much all of us, but most of us. One misconception about this show: there is no such thing as good or bad within this. A lot of people try to identify as one character being better than the other one, such as Ruckus being better than Tom, or Tom being better than Ruckus, or Riley being better than Huey, or Huey being better than Riley. But in a sense, the show was not created to display the good and the bad. This show was simply to show real issues that we have and things that we face. Mainly identity crisis is what I gained from watching this show, is the identity crisis that we face of trying to express Blackness and who we are. How Boondocks went off the air in 2011. Basically, no one else can create a show as controversial, as truthful, as raw as this without copying. There was so much truth laid out in this show that was neglected by the masses. Most people just see it as two young boys running around saying the N-word and doing bad things 24/7 and fighting and funny things. But in a sense, it was deeper than you can possibly imagine. I highly recommend anyone who is conscious, aware, open-minded, whatever you are, if you're even spiritual, I recommend you go re-watch this show so you can get a greater understanding of what this show is really about. This cartoon gained a lot of publicity, a lot of negative connotations towards the show, because the show was basically, not afraid. The show was not afraid to question your beliefs, say outrageous things, basically make you question your sanity, or question your government, or question the life that you live, your modern day world, right? Also, this show played a huge role in pop culture and exposing pop culture and doing a lot of predictive programming into what pop culture is now. Before we go any further in this video, we have to acknowledge this. Around season 3 and 4, Aaron was no longer writing the scripts of the show, and if you pay attention to the show, if you decide to go watch it, there is a difference between some of the characters later in the seasons. As you see from my perspective, in season 1 and 2, especially 1, you see Huey's character is very much tied into telling the truth, plain out, not just in plain sight. He is just telling it bluntly. He does not care. But later he gains this thing of really not speaking, and that's very much what we have to pay attention to. Boondocks had a total of 6 main characters: Huey, Riley, Granddad, Jasmine, Uncle Ruckus, and Tom. The 6 characters are all different stereotypes / identities that we see in the Black culture that we truly don't acknowledge, and certain issues that we do have. Each character is important in their own way. The main character that's really seen and really much you'll think is saving the show, or the good person, or the person that we're seeing everything through, is Huey. Huey's character is very much the open-minded, conscious character. Then you have Riley, which is one of the most important characters in the show. But I'm not going to get into the characters yet. Let's talk about some things the show has put out there and showed us. First thing the show has showed us is that in a lot of their episodes, they predict certain things, but sometimes they just reenact certain events that has occurred in the industry and the media in real life, they reenact that into this show and put the truth in plain sight, or the bluntness behind it, or showing us how it was completely wrong without saying it was wrong. And this picture that you see right here, this is from the clip of Pause, the episode called Pause, where basically Granddad is trying to get in the film, and basically the film is a Medea film, even though they don't state that it's a Medea film, but it's a Medea's film, and basically it's showing how a lot of these people are very much undercover gay, even though they try to cover it up with the sanity aspect of using Christianity, or just covering up and, you know, trying to hide what they really are behind closed doors. And it also displays how most people would just do anything just to get that amount of fame, right? So that's the episode Pause for you. It's about Tyler Perry. Then you have another episode which is based off the show Beyond Scary Shrek. This one, the episode called S Word, and the episode called S Word, actually calling one of his students a nigga, changed the A to ER, and basically they reenact this and basically show a lot of stereotypical things within this. Next is the Milton kid. This is actually a real event. A little boy, he was like 7-8 years old, took his grandmother's car and said that he wanted to do hood rat shit with his friends. And yeah, they put this in the show, and they painted Milton to be like basically, you know, a product of being not looked after well, and a product of being, you know, neglected by the systematic society, if that makes sense. Even though a lot of people try to paint him as just evil and dead inside, a hopeless kid. And weird thing is, Milton in real life actually is, I think he's still in jail, but I remember he went to jail like when he was a teenager or something like that. Story of Gangstalicious, which was the one where they exposed gay rappers. So as you see on the left, this is from the video vixen. Basically, she came out with a real story exposing all of the rappers for being undercover gay and what she's seen in her years of being a video vixen. And then you have the cartoon on the right, who basically exposed Gangstalicious for being gay. Next recreation is the R. Kelly's case. Very good episode, very meaningful episode. And, you know, I didn't realize this, but why was R. Kelly wearing a goddamn face, like, eye cover? Like, why is he, I don't know, whatever. But you see they had an episode like that. And then you have this one about the jail man, and this episode is basically about Tom not wanting to get raped in jail. So, main characters, real main characters that we see all the time is Riley, Granddad, and Huey. First character that we're finna get into is Huey. Okay, so first character, Huey. I adore Huey so much. He's one of my favorite characters, honestly. Huey's character is very militant-minded, conscious, mindful, aware of the programs, and is fully against the government. He's named after the African-American revolutionary / co-founder of the Black Panther Party, Huey P. Newton. Huey's character saw things for what they were and always acknowledged the wrong in the modern things that we think were right, whether it was food that we were eating, whether it was the music we would listen to, whether it was the school systems. He was always trying to tell people, yo, that's wrong, that's not what we should be doing. But people ignored Huey. Like in today's society, with all of the conscious and spiritual people, a lot of us are people. We get ignored. A lot of us get ignored by a lot of people that just are ignorant and close-minded. And there's more close-minded and ignorant people than there are people who are open-minded without judgment, and open-minded, you know, freely, and just are aware and trying to wake people up. So there's more closed-minded people. So there's a lot of us being shown from society and being cut off and not being appreciated for what we're doing and what we're saying. And he displays that character of trying to help everybody but never been appreciated. And if you watch this show and you are one of those people that are constantly helping people and trying to wake people up, you'll find yourself getting kind of emotionally hurt from this, because it's like you can relate to what Huey goes through, right? So he's constantly fighting to wake those around him up. However, he is constantly ignored by the people around him. This character is used to put truth in plain sight. Hugh's character is always putting truth in plain sight. Every time there's an ongoing issue, he always has an answer. He's always a leader, very militant minded. He does not trust the government. And he's just a 10-year-old boy, but in a sense, his character is not meant to have the mentality of a 10-year-old boy. His character is meant to just illustrate someone of knowledge, someone who is aware of the systematic programming.
It was at a garden party.
Excuse me, everyone, I have a brief announcement to make. Jesus was black, Ronald Reagan was the devil, and the government is lying about 9/11. Thank you for your time, and good night.
No! That can't be true! Unhand me!
Now, next character that we're going to get into is his brother, his 8-year-old slash 7 to 8-year-old brother, Riley. Riley's character can easily be looked at as the lost child destined to be a thug or a criminal or always in trouble. But in reality, Riley's character is created to show how easily influenced the youth is, mainly by hip-hop culture. In many episodes, Riley even has friends that are rappers, or at least he's trying to pretend to be like them. Now, this is a very important character to the show. A lot of people will not like to hear this, but Riley's character is way more important than Huey's character. Riley's character shows the ongoing issue that happens when we're children, which creates us as adults, having an identity crisis and only relying on what we see on the media to make us into what we are. So, okay, he shows how the black children at a young age are at extreme risk of building our persona/personalities and our ways based off of people in the media. The negative notions of people in the media, not the positive. And I'm saying the negative because in the media, especially nowadays with social media, they never paint the positive picture of putting a positive thing out there. You mainly will see negativity because everything's kind of still in the systematic programming thing, whether it looks like it or not, it still is. So in the deepest sense, Riley's character was more realistic than Huey's too. Riley's character is a plain out image of what happens when children are pushed away from real education. When black children are pushed away from the real education of who they are, you create a whole generation of Rileys. And if you look at it, I'm in the generation Gen Z. So Gen Z, a lot of us replicate Riley's behavior. Although we do have a lot of Huey type of people mindsets nowadays in Gen Z, but there's a handful of Riley type of people in Gen Z simply because it's not their fault. It's simple. It's just because of hip-hop culture. Hip-hop culture got very popular in the 21st century of MTV and everyone trying to be like these people. So like Professor Griff said, in the beginning of the 2000s, when MTV and everything was popular and music was at its core of just being mass destructive like it is now, but it was very much likable. That's all people love was the magazines and the Y2K thing, right? So Professor Griff said that, you know, kids are in the back seat. Kids were in the back seat and their babysitter at home is MTV, you know, because the babysitter has MTV on, mom has MTV on. And that's what the kids are looking at. Kids do not listen to what you're saying. They imitate what you do, you know. That's Riley is the face of black youth. He might be deemed as undesirable and bad, but he's the face and realistic product of black youth felled by racial oppressed school systems, hip-hop cultures, and etc.
Then I thought to myself, what if this was a movie?
Now, let's see here. Riley was her? I'm afraid I don't get it.
It says Riley was here.
No, it doesn't. It says Riley was her.
How you gonna tell me? I wrote it.
Oh, I'm not saying it's not good. I'm just saying you could make it more clear to people that you were here.
Huge dilemma. Riley's and Huey's character are both the face of black youth. Although Riley's character is more realistic for a 7 to 8 year old, Riley's and Huey's character leaves us with a big question. What is blackness and how do I express my blackness? Next is Jasmine. Jasmine is mixed race, very innocent and naive. Jasmine's innocence and naiveness comes from having parents like Tom and Sarah who avoids conflict, especially racial, due to them dating interracially. Huey always tries to convince Jasmine in many ways that she is simply just black and will always be seen as black in white America. But her parents tell her that she's simply just unique. Since Jasmine's character is a product of living a sugar-coated life, which is a result into later having identity crisis. Many mixed people / kids face this, even fully black kids face this, of having an identity crisis from living a sugar-coated life. Next character that I want to touch on is Tom. Tom is a lighter-skinned black male who faces the dilemma of accepting his blackness. His first name comes from the stereotypical Uncle Tom. Last name comes from the great talented sociologist W.E.B. Du Bois. Tom only finds the value in himself based off of common white American standards, i.e. case in point, graduating from Harvard, being a lawyer, and joining the NAACP. Tom faces many doubts about his race. Tom is double jointed when it comes to his race and how he should feel about the people in his race. Before I blow y'all minds with something, we're going to move into the next character. The next character is Uncle Ruckus. Ruckus' character is convinced he was born a white male and was cursed to be black. As we know, Ruckus' character hates black people. He puts it out there. His character will probably let you know that he hates his blackness and he hates blackness. Despite how Tom will hide that he hates blackness and sugarcoat it and won't admit it, Ruckus will let you know. He will put it out there, and Ruckus is as raw as it get with the show. Now, something that's going to blow your mind that you probably didn't even realize, or you probably did, but I did. Ruckus and Tom were the same exact person dealing with the same exact issue. Same issue. So, let's compare the two. And let's contrast the two also. Before I do that, let me give you guys an analogy of this. You ever seen a house and the house is so pretty on the outside, but you walk inside the house and it's just terrible. It's a mess. Nothing. You can't find anything. It's just all over the place. That's Tom. You ever see an ugly house and you walk inside the house and it's still ugly? That's Ruckus, okay? So, you have Tom, he's perfectly dressed and he keeps all his issues towards black people within himself. Then you have Ruckus, he's never dressed up to keep. He expresses it loudly and proudly. He hates black people and he does not care. Both of these characters demonstrate the self-consciousness most black people have, the self-hate and the self-love, the duality that is trapped within many of our heads. Noted by sociologist W.E. Du Bois, last name given to Tom, W.E. Du Bois has a piece written called Black Double Consciousness. Double consciousness is shown using Tom and Ruckus, the act of measuring oneself based off of what others think, i.e. case in point, what white America wants and thinks for blacks. So you'll see Ruckus always trying to do everything in the white man's favor, always trying to protect the white man, and you'll see Tom trying to fit in and be in that white spot of never drifting the line to under him of being black. He always wants to be in that safe zone of being white. So Du Bois describes it as the two-sidedness of differing from Negro and American, all inside of one dark body. So it's like a split happens within the body where the person cannot determine who they are, and a lot of black people have this because where do we draw that line of knowing who we are from being Negro to being American.
He had another thing coming. The jury will now go off and deliberate on... Guilty! That nigga is guilty! Sir, settle down. You have to go deliberate.
I don't need to deliberate. Hang that nigga now!
Man who loves his black sisters, unlike District Attorney Dubois, who's married to a white woman.
But I was different from the others, shut out from their world by a vast veil. For the world I longed for and all its dazzling opportunities were theirs, not mine. Why did God make me an outcast and a stranger in mine own house? It is a peculiar sensation, this double consciousness, this sense of always looking at one's self through the eyes of others. One feels his two-ness, an American, a Negro. Two souls, two thoughts, two unreconciled strivings, two warring ideals in one dark body, whose dogged strength alone keeps it from being torn asunder. The history of the American Negro is the history of this strife, this longing to attain self-conscious manhood, to merge his double self into a better and truer self.
Okay, last person we're going to get into is Granddad. His character, in a sense, is cordial with everyone, simply because he is less concerned with societal programmings, more concerned with living it up before he passes. He uses the racial victim card to get his way, although he truly cares less for political truth, etc. Granddad is the common seen actions of older black people, basically been through the racial struggle and feels, hey, I'm old and I'm no longer a part of this. I have no say in the rights, especially since there's a black president. So in the episode where they basically show the 2008 election of Obama becoming president, it also displays how a lot of black people were let down from this election, especially Granddad. And with the Granddad zooming in on that character in that moment of that episode, it shows how a lot of older black people thought there was hope in having a black president, but later they see nothing really change. And that brings me to my point about this character right here and older black people. Older black people and him face the truth that no matter what, the glass is always half empty for blacks. Ending this off, I'm stuck with a question, a societal question. Do we truly know who we are as black people?
Those who haven't seen it, what's this about?
The strip is essentially a racial, social, political satire. It's about a handful of African-American kids who are transplanted to the all-white suburbs, and they have to deal with their surroundings and deal with each other, and it plays out as an exploration of the American racial dynamic, both interracial and intraracial. And you have these different age groups, these different political philosophies of the characters and different perspectives all sort of clashing and bumping into each other. And that's the best way to wrap it up.
Excuse my ignorance. Are there any other African-American?
Syndicated cartoonists?
Yes.
There are about 4 or 5.
4 or 5?
Yeah.
And who are they?
Barbara Brandon does a weekly strip called Where I'm Coming From. It's in, I believe, about 30 some papers. That's a wild guess. Rob Armstrong is actually the largest in distribution. He does a strip called Jumpstart, which is in over 300 papers.
Yeah.
Ray Billingsley does Curtis, which is in over 200 papers. And then there's Stephen Bentley, who does a strip called Herb and Jamal, and I'm not exactly familiar with how many papers he's in, or if he's even still doing it. And there's Maury Turner, who is really the first black syndicated comic strip creator. And I'm not sure if his strip is still in syndication. I know it does still run in some.
So you're third or fourth in terms of largest in circulation?
Yeah, and in terms of distribution and number of papers.
Right.
Actual total circulation, if you were to add up my client papers, it could actually be the biggest because I have a lot of very large papers.
You have urban papers?
Yeah, really big cities.
What else creates controversy? I mean, if you talk about gangster concepts, does that create controversy?
Yeah, that whole thing, you know, Riley was really constructed to be a satire on contemporary black popular culture and contemporary hip-hop music and the glorification of crime and what have you. And people sort of take it on the surface level that I'm sort of implying that all black people are criminals. I mean, the whole point is with that character is that he's very, very young, you know, maybe like 7 or 8. And, you know, he's sort of obviously going out of his way to be a thug and to look menacing and all of this. And he's not. And that is wherein the humor lies. Only people, I think, are only looking at it on a very surface level.
The Washington Post called the strip funny, edgy, hip, and vulnerable, filled with attitude, slang, and irreverent. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's good. You like it when the Washington Post says that.
Yeah.